Welcome to this lecture where I give you checklists that help you be a little bit more confident as a presenter. To help you along, I've divided this checklist between what you should be taking along to aid your presentation, 2, what you should be taking along to help your audience gauge your message better, and 3, a checklist for you as a speaker so that you can be your energetic self. So let's start with tools that can help aid your presentation. Number 1 is a clicker. And I would highly suggest that you get a clicker, ideally with a green laser point and not a red laser point, because green is less harsh on the eyes. Ideally get something with a blackout button and one that you can practice with prior to your presentation, because you don't be using a new clicker on the day of your talk. Then also consider things like speakers, your own speakers that help you put your videos on showcase. I know most conferences have their own speakers, but sometimes the speakers let you down. But if you have your own set that you know how to manage, then you have a little bit more control over your presentation. Take your own projector adapters along. Those cables that connect your laptop to the projector, whether it's a VGA or a HDMI, take both. You never know what the conference venue has and what needs to be supported. Perhaps also consider taking a backup projector and a backup laptop. Again, depending on the sensitivity of what you are delivering, you want to make sure that you are able to deliver this presentation. Take your own Koki pens along. And I'd suggest taking these Koki pens, which is a little bit more of a thicker font. So when you're using it on a flip chart, regardless of a person being right at the back of the room, they can still see whatever you're putting on a flip chart. Consider taking your own portable podium. Again, just to set aside your laptop and your notes. Take your own USB flash disk with a copy of your presentation on it. Your own batteries for your clicker and anything else that you need to just get you running. Like I said earlier, you are in charge of your presentation and all the gadgets and technology that goes with it. So I'd rather you go into the presentation with your own stuff than to rely on the venue to help you along if you need it. Let's now look at a checklist to help you and your audience understand your message better. So for your audience, think of things like handouts for your audience that helps them understand your materials, and they can be using that as a guide as you speak on stage. It could even be just the PowerPoint slides on a 4 to 5 pages summary, maybe 3 slides per page that they can go through on their own. You could also get some rewards for your audience. So every time that they participate, every time they ask a question, you give them a bit of a reward. Maybe you are teaching your audience and you want to hand out some chocolates, something that just gets them going, especially if it's going to be a longer day. Think of training packs, which might include the stationery and a full training material. Registers that allow a person to sign in so that you can gauge who were in the room and not. And finally, things like feedback forms that your audience can fill in and evaluate your presentation so that you could use that to help grow and enhance your next presentation. Let's now look at the checklist for you as a speaker. So when it comes to yourself, remember that your energy needs to be so much more higher than that of your audience. And that means that you need to be looking after your energy state and your levels of energy. So have your own snacker bars, your fruit that you can snack on just before you step onto the stage. For at least 2 hours before your talk, drink only still water at room temperature. Why room temperature? Because when you drink anything that's iced, it constricts your vocals and it makes your voice sound a bit different. And so you want to avoid having anything too hot or too cold. Avoid the caffeine and excessive sugar because that drains your energy. Think of things like what we have just covered in the previous lecture, which is your 1 to 2 page summary, your scripting notes that guide you on your presentation. You could also consider having a bit of a meal before your presentation. Nothing too heavy, but enough to sustain you for your talk. Stay hydrated and minimize the smoking if you do smoke, because it also impacts on your vocals. Included in this section of the lecture, I've included this checklist for you to download. And I'd like you to include this checklist for your next presentation. And I know initially you might need to refer to it just to be reminded as to what to take along. But as you become more accomplished as a speaker, and I know you'll get to that point, you'll just know what to take verbatim. And that allows you just to be a little bit more confident that you have that backup plan to not only have the energy for your audience, but to also have all the tools and gadgets and technology that's going to complement your talk for any type of presentation. So let's now move on to the next lecture where I talk to you about having a balanced viewpoint. I'll see you there.